Hey there. For this video I made some sci-fi wall panels that I'm putting together just for a diorama that I'm going to make, and they're just out of XPS Foam and whatever I could find on my desk pretty much to make impressions in the foam. It was basically a couple of sharpeners and a few other little things, the lid of a texter, and this is how it came out. It was so quick and easy. There was no measuring or mucking around, no drawing of anything up, and a bit of paint on it, and then you've got yourself a sci-fi wall. I thought this would even be good for someone who might want to make some wall art, maybe some steampunk sort of wall art, and you could put it in a frame, make it a little bronze, a little dirty looking, or even small panels for tabletop gaming. This is really effective, surprisingly easy, and yeah, it's a good one. So I hope you get something from this, and I hope you enjoy the video. Just using an upside down frame and some XPS foam for the base, with some plywood for the walls to put my XPS foam on. I had to cut mine really roughly because I only use a little hand wire cutter, but it's okay because it's going to work out in the end. This sharpener I just used for screens, sort of like computer screen sort of thing going on. Thumb drive as an impression as well. It doesn't make sense, but it makes an awful lot of sense at the same time. The way these patterns come out, they really do look like parts of consoles and towers and all sorts of, technical stuff. The pieces that I'm doing for the video and showing you are just kind of test pieces, because I was really fiddling around with this under the camera and just making impressions, and also showing you pretty much what every sort of object does and comes off as a shape of its own, an impression of its own. You can see just the sharpener on every angle. On this one piece is the sharpener and the thumb drive, and the top one, the sharpener, it's the bottom of it. They just come out so good. It's very abstract, but abstract and sci-fi are a marriage made in heaven, and they really work well together, and that's why this works so well. I made one template. It was for the door, because I didn't want to get the dimensions wrong and the size. Back to making another screen. It could be a window, could be a monitor. It's up to you. You press nice and hard, but not too hard. It will go through the foam if you get a little bit gung-ho on it. But a few goes on some practice pieces yourself and you'll get really good at it. The lid of this texter I was super excited when I did this, because I made the impression and realised it looked exactly like a cog, and I just thought, yep. And then I put them next to each other, and it was great. And this is the whole thing with making steampunk kind of art, or even for a diorama, something like this would be absolutely ideal. When you get the impressions just right, at the right depth, they come out absolutely perfect. It's just a little piece off an old model tank that was built. It's just like a box off it. I thought it looked a bit like a vent. And this, I think, is meant to be a panel vent off the same vehicle. It looks perfect. I just pressed it down, and it was so easy. And it came out exactly how I wanted it. It's brilliant. You could just look around on a desk or in a junk drawer or something, and you would find just infinite things on every angle. A bit of a dowel makes really nice impressions for what might be dials or lights. And the end of a toothpick. And again with a thumb drive. It's very random, but it's a little organised, trying to keep some sort of symmetry with it. Keep it looking like, a panel. If you just use an object and flip it over on every side, you'll find that you have numerous impressions just from one tiny object. This chisel, I initially was using this to try and make lines for vents and that sort of thing, But freehanding, you make a mistake, you're stuck with it. So if you can use an object to press down, it's definitely a little bit better. But flip the angle of the chisel over and then you've got a different impression once again. I used a few pieces that were thicker just so it would give more depth. And I'm using the same objects again just to make sure I kind of keep with the same theme and not get too crazy and abstract. But it will give a lot more depth if I have different thicknesses of foam. It'll just look like a tower or something, or some sort of housing, or abstract nonsensical patterns. If you keep the symmetry happening though, you'll find that it doesn't go too far wrong. I'm just placing pieces on just to make sure it's not too cluttered. I have to try and keep in mind too, because I'm going to put 2 levels of flooring on this, so I have to kind of work around that. That's why my panels are sort of small and randomized. If you make them too big, you can just chop them up, put them wherever you like. Being sci-fi, there's no great hard and fast rules. That's all the pieces ready to go. Ready to put a dirty wash onto, with of course some acrylic, watered down acrylic. Do not go using any fuel-based products on this or you won't have anything left to mention. I just use it in a little old squirty thingy and it goes quite well, but you do need to sand it a little bit before you apply the paint or it won't absorb. Though I know a lot of people out there prime it first, but I like to do it this way. And as you can see how it's soaked in like that, and you can see where it wasn't sanded as well, and where it was much better sanded, it's soaked in really nice and dark. And I love this contrast. And this is where it sort of, once again, is that steampunk thing going on. It looks so grungy and dirty and old, and I really like it like this. I was really tempted to keep it this way, but it looks really, really great, and it looks quite sort of artsy when it's unpainted like this. It's really nice. It'll look good in a frame, but it's got to be a bit of a diorama happening yet. So onto the painting with the grey that I've used over many projects. And this is a very heavy dry brushing. I just want to make everything kind of somewhat grey. I'm not too fancy with my dry brushing. I'm sure a lot of people that love to do their painting will absolutely love doing this project. It's really up for detail and that sort of thing. If you're into it, you'd get a real kick out of this one. That shape of that sharpener there on that, it's really great to watch it come out like that. And there's that one on the far left. It looks like an old boom box, which is kind of weird, but it's all come out really interesting. I don't want to lose too much of that dirty look. Though this diorama is going to be somewhat sort of cartoonish looking, so I have to make it a little cleaner than I normally would. And you can see the difference there with just that one coat of dry brush of grey versus the dirty wash. Time to get down to the fun stuff now. The base I just also darkened, and then I used a ruler and just lined it up and did the crisscross pattern without any measurement. And I'll be doing that in the next part of this diorama series. For the colours, I just used very basic sort of blue, black and silver to make sort of a gunmetal colour and sort of a rose gold with some gold and some brown and red. I don't want to use primary colours because they are just too much. This black has been lightened a little with a bit of blue and that sort of thing as well, so it's not completely stark black, or it will stand out and draw your eye to it, which you don't really want to happen, as it wants to be part of the entire wall and not just a standout piece on its own. Made a mistake, so I just clean it up with a wet brush. I'm being quite rough with this. I don't want it to be super neat, otherwise it will start to look a little too real, and I want to avoid that. These pipes are just, once again, bits of dowel. There was nothing fancy about that. I just jammed them on there and that was that. The silver has a little bit of blue in it and a little bit of black. It's hard to notice it, but it's to take out that unnaturally stark silver colour. No point in making it all dirty if I'm going to make it really nice and neat and clean again with harsh colours. A bit of a sort of a rose gold. I don't even know what this is meant to be. I don't know if it's a door or what it is, but I might decide later on. I don't know. Looks kind of like a door. A safe. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a safe. Yeah. Abstract looking pieces. They don't have any reason besides filling a bit of wall space, really. Some fluoro paint on the little lights and buttons and things. I'm waiting on some green mica powder in the mail. It's taking a long time, so I'm just doing this for the video, but I will be tackling the lights and making them look a lot more realistic in the next video. I'm just lightly brushing around the light to try and give it that sort of illuminated look. It's a bit rough, but it's a paintbrush, not an airbrush, so you get what you get. Just use the same tool to remove paint that you made the hole with or the impression with. It works well. And now I'm going to put on some decals that I printed out. It's good paper and good printing because I did it at my local library. They have a really good printer. These come out really good. They're just random sheets of Sci Fi decals that I just googled up, and I just glue them down with some nice thick water-based glue. These came out quite good. Just really place them down well with a nice clean dry brush, and yeah, they sit really well as well. And if it's a little untied around the edges, you could use some paint and just neaten it up, or do a nice even layer of glue on the top, and it would look probably a lot like a shiny kind of screen, or even put a little bit of plastic over the top. It would be up to you. But they look really illuminated, and once that glue's dry, they'll be seamless, and they look really good. I was very pleased with these. I put quite a few little symbols and things on, all different colours, just to add more interest and to add detail as well. Stuff that you really wouldn't want to do by hand because it would look amateurish, and then it would pull the eye in and people would see fault with it. And that's why I like to use things like this, because it really makes things look far more professional. And it's come out really, really nice. For a very quick build, it's great. I'm going to dirty it up just so I can add more shadow with some dirty brown wash. It's just acrylic, black, brown and water all sludged up. And I'm just going to put it around most of the pieces just to make it look a bit grubby and, once again, shadow. So it adds more depth. that's basically the two primary walls done and ready to be used as a backdrop for the diorama. These would look great, I think, on a really small scale, and on a really big scale it's such a workable thing to do. I'm really impressed with how you could play around with this kind of thing. I really hope you found this a useful tutorial, and I'll see you next time.